one of my biggest regrets in my life is not telling a kid who was around 5 years old to stop insulting his Filipino helper. And you might say, is that really one of your biggest regrets? And I have to say, yes. It's something that has really stayed on my mind a lot, and it's a phenomenon which I feel very uncomfortable about. Now, before I start talking about why such actions, disrespect towards these Filipino helpers, is such a big problem and why perhaps we should be appreciating them more, which is ultimately the core message of this video, is that we have to appreciate them. I would like to clarify my stance. I'm not arguing against the practice of having Filipino helpers. I think it's the most brilliant invention and most brilliant practice that could ever have happened to Hong Kong. It helps us economically, it helps them economically, it helps everyone. It's a win-win situation. They get a lot of money to send back home, and that's a lot of money comparatively to Filipino standards. But also, we get a lot of money by saving a lot of time. We pay for them to do most of our chores. We just have to focus on our work. I wake up, my bed gets done for me. I get my food cooked for me. Basically, everything in the house is all sorted. All I need to do is write, work, and that's it, right? So I think it's the most brilliant invention ever for an economic standpoint of a city. It's probably one of the underappreciated reasons for why Hong Kong has been so successful and so efficient. However, there are things which I feel really uncomfortable about in this practice, and part of this practice is the disrespect given by young children, particularly to these Filipino helpers. I get it. If you're hiring them and they're messing up, fine. I'm not trying to defend people who are not doing their job well. But assuming that people do their job well, I don't see any reason for why a young kid should, in any right mind, think that they can disrespect someone like that. Yes, there's this impression Hong Kong is a very classist society for good and for ill reasons, but nonetheless, there is this seemingly kind of strange mindset where people think, okay, well, these people are working for us, therefore we can treat them however we like. And that's really not the case, especially for these young kids. And that's why I'm targeting this message to those spoiled brats in Hong Kong, these insufferable little, I want to say peasants, but that might be a bit far. Someone might get offended by me by saying that. But I just cannot stand seeing these little kids just insult or try to offend these Filipino helpers who've done nothing but trying to help them, because they have sacrificed a lot. They've come across to a different country. They've come to live with you in most circumstances. They're working with you. They have kids back at home which they've left. They have family back at home which they've left. They're working for you 7 days, well, not 7 days a week legally, but 6 days a week. They're working for you, working hard for you. They do all the chores, the stuff that you don't want to do. They do the laundry, things like that. When I'm living by myself, it makes I appreciate it even more. I have to do all my chores myself, but I mean, they do so much for you, and all you do is treat them with disrespect. And this is just something where I think is outrageous. They make life easier for you. They're doing a lot for you. They're not even paid much, right? Like, I mean, if you, comparatively for us in a first world country in Hong Kong, they get paid around like what, 450 pounds a month or something like that, right? Or in Hong Kong standards, 4,500 Hong Kong dollars to 6,000, whatever it is, right? They're not getting paid significant amount of money, but nonetheless, these little kids are disrespecting them, and I find it completely outrageous. It's like, who on earth do you think you are? I just find it very odd, right? Because the kids aren't paying them, that's for sure. They're getting paid more than you, actually, because the kid doesn't mean anything, and you've done absolutely F all to deserve it. Because, like, you look at the kid, right? Like you're the kid's like 5 years old, right? 6 years old, or maybe 10 years old, 12 years old in that situation, and then you already have someone helping you like that. I mean, that's just going to make you even more spoiled, even more unappreciative of life, and you're going to take it for granted. And if you're going to treat someone who makes your life so easy for granted, and you're going to start insulting them as well, that's just completely outrageous in my opinion. And you know, I mean, it's ridiculous. My relationship with my domestic helpers have always been very, very good. I mean, I've learned a lot from them. Some of my greatest life lessons about things have come from my domestic helpers growing up as well. They've given me some words of wisdom, which I thought was very good. Appreciate them a lot. They don't deserve being disrespected, of course. If they're doing a very bad job and these things, let your parents deal with it. Don't let the kids start insulting people. And of course, there's within reason. Some of them are thieves and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm not doing a blanket statement to say all domestic helpers are good, but at the same time, they do deserve some respect, especially from kids, especially the good ones. And I think there's a lot of good domestic helpers out there who are really being mistreated. And I had the unfortunate scenario to go to quite a well-off a private high school, international school, whatever you want to call it. And the kids there, some of them were just really outright outrageous brats, and they just treat people with disrespect, which just, you know, I'm not articulating myself very well in this video, but that's just because it's a very kind of raw, it's a very kind of it's an issue which really means a lot to me, and I hope that that kind of comes across in this video, that I'm just kind of saying this without much of a script. I'm just saying what comes to my mind. And the saddest thing about this whole thing is that the domestic helpers can't really do anything because they can't really speak for themselves. I mean, I could say things here because, well, you know, if someone in Hong Kong watches this and gets severely offended by what I'm saying, I mean, go f off. I don't really care about what you think about what I'm saying. I kind of say this because I kind of want to, and I think it's important to get the message across. If someone doesn't like me, so be it. Probably quite a lot of people might dislike me for saying this, but I mean, I don't care. But the Filipino helper can't say anything, right? Like, I mean, like, your dad's the boss, right? I mean, or I think about the young kid, right? The kid's dad's the boss. And that kind of the situation that I told you at the start of this video kind of encapsulates this. So I was walking down the hill and I see this kid was like yelling at the helper, like slapping the legs, like that, right? This spoiled, stupid brat. And he was, and then the helper was like, look, you're not acting reasonably. You're next to a road. You're blocking the whole road. You're yelling. You're making a fuss, and you're doing all this kind of outrageous stuff. Just please calm down. Please calm down. And he was talking to the kid very reasonably. And then the kid was like, still like, I'll tell my dad or whatever. And you realize the helper can't do anything. And if the kid's so poorly brought up, probably the kids. The parents are also somewhat mentally kind of cuckoo as well. So if that's the case, and they're both treating the helper poorly, what can the helper say? She has to protect her job, which is a very reasonable thing to do. So she can't say anything. So they're kind of defenseless to this kind of 5-year-old brat. And, you know, I look at that and I'm like, this is just horrible. You know, I mean, even if you completely disregard everything else, like imagine you've gone halfway across the world. Well, not halfway across the world. You've gone on a 3-hour flight. You're working for someone 6 days a week from like 6 a.m. in the morning to like 10 p.m. at night. And then you have this tiny kid who is poorer than you, dumber than you, more mentally ill than you, more... Actually, no, I can't say mentally ill because then that would be a disrespect to mentally ill people. More pathetic than you, younger than you, has no life experience, start insulting you and treating you like crap. I mean, and then you can't do anything about it. I mean, that's horrible. And I feel grateful I'm never in that situation. If someone treats me with disrespect, I just start... I mean, I could insult them. I could get into an argument with them. I could get into a fight with them without any fear of the consequences because I know who I am. I'm confident. But if you can't do anything about it, I'll feel absolutely horrible. You know, I can't imagine that, and that's why I feel really bad for it. And perhaps this is the reasons why I kind of say that's probably one of my biggest regrets because, you know, I really could have done something in that situation for someone who really couldn't have done something in that situation. In most other situations, in the case of my life, it was not a power dynamic between someone who was in power and someone who wasn't in power. But in that situation, it really was, you know, like I really could have said something and done something about it. And unfortunately, I didn't. And I regret that, you know, it's one of those split-second decisions. I wanted to get home. I was tired after a long day of school, but that's not an excuse on my part. So I mean, in some sense, I'd like to tell you, people who are watching this video, that, yeah, if you see something happen like that, speak up, you know. I mean, the helper would appreciate it, but also, you know, I think the kids sometimes do need a good lesson. And this is not an insight. I don't want to kind of harm the kids, but I think it's important that they get taught a good lesson. And finally, it's very easy to treat someone with respect. And it doesn't go down to, and I know a lot of people in Hong Kong, well, not a lot, but some people like to argue, oh, we really are mistreating this Filipino. Let's get rid of this whole trade. That's outrageous. That's not what I'm trying to say in this video. But what I am trying to say is that you have to view them with respect. You have to view them as people of value. Say please and thank yous. Treat them well. Don't treat them like someone who's kind of like a second-class citizen. Treat them with respect. They are doing a respectful job. They're helping you out, and show them kindness. And that's all that I'm really trying to say in this video. And you know, me as a Christian, I believe that we are all made in the image of God, and that's something very important. And God loves them as much as they love you, and that's something very valuable. And a lot of Filipino helpers are very religious people as well, and that's something I respect a lot. You know, that's something I try to learn from. And yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say in this video. I know this video is somewhat odd. I normally don't make unscripted videos like this. I normally don't make kind of rants like this because it's somewhat unstructured. I apologize for that, but I hope you enjoy it. Stay safe and God bless. I'll see you next one.